In this video, I'm going to go over the first objective from this lesson on dividing polynomials. I'm going to be focusing on using long division to practice dividing them. So we'll do one on these notes together, and then I will go through two examples from the questions from the Delta Math link. All right, so let's do this first one here. Whenever you set up your long division, right, I'm going to put my polynomial 6x cubed plus 11x squared minus 31x plus 15, right? This is going to be my dividend, all right? And then that's going to be divided by my divisor of 3x minus 2, all right, just a little bit smaller. There we go. Okay, so how you're going to do this is you're going to ask yourself the question that you did when you were in 5th grade, where if you had to do like 5 divided by 2, you were saying how many times does 2 go into 5? So that's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how many times does 3x minus 2 go into this cubic polynomial with 4 terms. But because it's a little bit more complicated than what you did in elementary school, I'm going to ask you to think of a term that when you multiply it by this 3x, you're going to get the first term of your dividend, that's 6x cubed. So I'm asking myself, so I know 2 times 3 would give me the 6, and then x squared times x would give me x cubed. So that's going to be 6x cubed. And then there is a second term in the divisor, so don't forget to multiply whatever term you choose. In this case, I chose 2x squared. Multiply that by negative 2 to get minus 4x squared. You can see where I wrote it, right? I wrote it above the squared term, just kind of help your brain organize it. Remember, in long division, we're going to subtract. That should be 0 in the first subtraction. And then 11x squared minus a negative 4x squared is actually 15x squared. Bring down the other terms in your dividend and repeat the process. So now I'm going to say something times 3x. That's going to give me 15x squared. Well, I know plus 5. 5 times 3 is 15. And then x times x would give me the x squared. Multiply the 5x by the negative 2, and then we're going to subtract. All right, again, the first one should become 0. Negative 31x minus a negative 10x is actually negative 31x plus 10x, which will be negative 21x. Bring down the 15. All right, and then last one here. I know 7 times 3 is going to give me 21, but I want it to be a negative 21x, so I have to do negative 7 times 3x. Oh, let me keep the green. Would give you negative 21x. And then negative 7 times negative 2 is 14. All right, now this is going to give us a remainder of 1. But when you write the remainder, don't forget that you're going to actually write plus, and then the remainder, which is 1, over the divisor. So 3x minus 2 is our divisor. So you have to write that to give you the remainder. If you think back to grade school, right, this goes in 2 times with 1 left over. You guys wrote remainder 1, but actually you write it as the remainder over the divisor of 2, so 2.5. So that's what we're doing, just a more complicated way of doing that. Okay, I'm going to switch to the Delta Math link to practice 2 of these, all right, where we can show you how it's going to look on those assignments. All right, so same thing. X cubed minus 8x squared plus 21x minus 20 divided by x minus 4. All right, so repeat that process that we just did. I'm trying to think of something times x to give me x cubed. That would be x squared. Multiply the x squared times both of those in the divisor. Gives you minus 4x squared. Subtract. That will be 0. Negative 8x squared minus a negative 4x squared is really negative 8 plus 4, which is going to be minus 4x squared. Bring down the 21x and the minus 20. Repeat it. So I believe this is going to be minus 4x. Yes, would give me negative 4x squared. Negative 4x times negative 4 is positive 16x. Don't forget to subtract. That'll be 0. This is going to be 5x. Bring down the minus 20. And then I'm going to say plus 5, because 5 times x is 5x, and 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Now, this one, a little different than the first one we did. When you subtract, you actually get 0. So if there's no remainder, right, you don't need to write plus 0 over the divisor. You can just leave it as x squared minus 4x plus 5. So in this one, there was no remainder. It was 0. Okay, let's do the last one here. So 12x cubed plus 5x squared minus 27x plus 13. And that's divided by 3x minus 1. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out something times 3 to give me 12, which is 4. And then x squared times x would give me x cubed. So that's going to be 12x cubed. 4x squared times negative 1 is minus 4x squared. Subtract. Subtracting a negative 4 is really adding, so that gives you 9x squared. Bring down the remaining terms. Repeat it. I know I'm going to need to do 3, because 3 times 3 is 9. So 3x times 3x is 9x squared. Multiply by the negative 1, and you get minus 3x. Subtract. Negative 27x minus a negative 3x is really negative 27 plus 3, which would be negative 24x. Bring down the 13, and I believe this is going to be minus 8. Negative 8 times 3 is negative 24x. Negative 8 times negative 1 is positive 8. So if you subtract, you get 5 for the remainder. So write plus 5 over 3x minus 1. Now I know on all three of these, excuse me, in all three of these examples, I have not had a negative remainder. If you do have a negative remainder, you can still write plus. Just make sure there would be a negative sign in the numerator. Or you can write minus, and then the sign in the numerator would actually be positive. So it's your choice on how to do these if you get a negative remainder. So try the Delta Math links, and good luck.